The mirror in the woods. The first reflection. The locals always warned about the woods north of Briar Hollow, not because of wild animals, not because of dangerous terrain, but because of the mirror. It wasn't nailed to a tree or framed on a wall. It stood upright on its own, a tall slab of glass with no edges, no backing, no explanation. Just there. Some said it had been found after a logging accident in the 1940s. Others whispered it was older than the town itself. No matter the story, they all agreed on one thing. You didn't look into it, because when you did, you didn't see yourself. You saw your corpse. Angela didn't believe in ghost stories. At least, that's what she told herself when she parked her car at the edge of the dirt trail and killed the engine. She was 22, restless, and fueled by equal parts curiosity and defiance. Her friends had dared her, half joking, to prove the legend wrong. Go find the mirror, Angie. Take a selfie with it, if it even exists. She laughed them off at first, but the idea festered. She'd grown up hearing the stories, after all. Now, with the forest bathed in late afternoon light, the dare didn't seem so ridiculous. Her boots crunched on fallen leaves as she hiked down the overgrown path. The woods smelled of moss and rain-soaked bark. The further she went, the quieter it got. Even the birds seemed to hold their breath. After 20 minutes, she saw it. The stories hadn't lied. There it was, standing in a small clearing, the mirror. 7 feet tall, impossibly thin, gleaming faintly even in the shadows. No frame, no base, just glass. Angela's heart skipped. She expected to see her reflection, but when she stepped closer, the glass shimmered like water disturbed by an invisible hand. Her reflection rippled, blurred, and changed. The woman in the glass wasn't alive. Her skin was ashen, lips tinged blue. Her hair clung to her face, matted and damp, as though she'd been pulled from a river. Worst of all, her eyes, Angela's eyes, were wide open, glassy, and staring at nothing. Angela gasped and stumbled back. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Then the reflection smiled. Not wide, not exaggerated, just a faint curl of the lips, enough to freeze her blood. Angela turned and ran. That night, Angela couldn't sleep. Every time she shut her eyes, she saw her reflection's corpse-like face. She told herself it was just a trick of the mind, a product of the eerie setting, her nerves, maybe even her imagination. But when she checked her phone the next morning, her stomach lurched. There was a new photo in her gallery, one she hadn't taken. It was of the clearing, of the mirror, and standing in front of it was Angela's corpse. That was only the beginning, because the mirror wasn't finished with her. The photo album. Angela stared at the photo on her phone, her breath catching in her throat. She hadn't taken it. She knew she hadn't. And yet, there it was. Her corpse, standing slack-jawed and pale in front of that impossible mirror. She told herself it had to be a prank. Maybe her friends had followed her. Maybe they'd planted something on her phone. But when she checked the photo details, the timestamp froze her blood. 3:11 a.m. At that time, she had been asleep in her bed, miles away from the woods. Her hand trembled as she scrolled. Another photo appeared, then another. Each one was of her, in her kitchen, in her bedroom, in her shower, always with that corpse-like pallor, always staring past the camera with lifeless eyes. Angela dropped the phone. Her stomach churned as bile rose in her throat. No one had been in her house. She would have known. She locked her doors every night, but the photos were there, undeniable. The rest of the day passed in a haze. Angela tried to distract herself with work, coffee, anything that would anchor her in the mundane, but every reflective surface made her stomach tighten. In the bathroom mirror, for just a flicker, she thought she saw her lips twitch into that same unnatural smile. By evening, she'd convinced herself it was stress. The mind played tricks when it wanted to. That's all it was. Then the knocking started. It came at midnight, a soft, deliberate rapping at her back door. Angela sat frozen on the couch, every hair on her body standing on end. She lived alone. Nobody should have been there. She grabbed her phone, hand shaking, and dialed her best friend, Riley. "Angie?" "It's past midnight," Riley groaned when she answered. "There's someone outside," Angela whispered. "What do you mean?" "Knocking. At my door. I don't—" The knocking stopped. Silence swallowed the house. Angela crept to the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear. She peeked through the blinds. The backyard was empty. Her breath left her in a shaky laugh. "Okay. Maybe I imagined—" The phone buzzed. A notification. Her stomach dropped. It was another photo. This one was different. It wasn't from her gallery. It was a live feed. A photo of her, standing at the window, holding her phone, and right behind her reflection, in the glass of the window pane, stood her corpse. Angela screamed and dropped the phone. Riley was at her house within 30 minutes, though it felt like hours. She found Angela shaking on the couch, the phone on the floor, its screen black. "Angie, you're white as a sheet," Riley said, crouching down. "What the hell happened?" Angela told her everything. The mirror, the corpse reflection, the photos. Riley listened, her face unreadable. Finally, she stood and poured Angela a glass of water. "Okay," Riley said carefully. "Maybe someone's screwing with you. A hacker, maybe? You said you uploaded a picture from the woods, right?" Angela hesitated. "Yeah, but these were taken inside my house. Riley, I never sent those to anyone." "Then we go back," Riley said firmly. Angela blinked. "Back? To the woods. To the mirror. If someone's messing with you, that's where it started. We'll figure it out." Angela wanted to argue, to tell Riley she was insane, but deep down, she knew her friend was right. The mirror wasn't finished with her, and maybe the only way to stop it was to face it again. The next night, under the cold light of the moon, Angela and Riley drove out to the trailhead. The woods loomed darker than Angela remembered, the trees bending overhead like skeletal arms. Every step down the path felt heavier, as though something unseen pressed against Angela's chest. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered. "No," Riley admitted, "but I'm not letting you do it alone." When they reached the clearing, the mirror was waiting. It gleamed faintly in the dark, surface rippling like liquid silver. Angela's stomach turned to ice, because her corpse was already there. It stood in front of the glass, head tilted, waiting. The reflection wasn't a reflection at all anymore. It moved on its own, lips curling into that faint, horrible smile. Riley didn't see it. She squinted at the empty clearing. "Where is it?" "I don't see anyone," Angela couldn't breathe. "It's right there," she whispered. "It's me. It's—" The reflection lifted its hand and pressed it against the glass, and the surface rippled outward, like water waiting to break. The crossing. Angela couldn't move. Her corpse reflection pressed its palm harder into the glass, and the surface rippled outward, trembling like a pond struck by a stone. She felt it, a pull in her chest, like gravity itself was dragging her toward the mirror. "Angie?" Riley's voice was sharp with concern. She stepped closer, scanning the empty clearing. "What are you staring at?" "You don't see it?" Angela croaked. "See what?" "It's me." Her throat felt tight. I'm standing right there." Riley frowned, following Angela's trembling finger toward the mirror. "There's nothing. Just your reflection. Are you messing with me?" The corpse tilted its head further, lips parting. A faint rasp echoed in the air. Angela's voice, but dry, broken, like words forced through lungs filled with water. "Come closer." Angela staggered back, clutching Riley's arm. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" Riley asked, her brow furrowing. The reflection began to press harder, its pale hand sinking into the glass as though it were slipping through. A wet sucking sound filled the clearing. Angela's vision swam. She felt dizzy, like her own body was being tugged forward. "Angie, you're scaring me," Riley said, gripping her shoulders. "There's nothing there. Let's go back to the car, okay? Please." But Angela couldn't tear her eyes from the mirror. Her corpse self was halfway through now. Fingers protruded into the clearing, dripping with something black and sticky that stained the leaves below. "Riley," Angela whispered. "It's coming out." Riley spun her around, forcing her to look away. "Listen to me. There's nothing there. You're exhausted. You're paranoid. The woods shuddered. Every tree seemed to groan at once, branches creaking, roots shifting in the soil. A low hum vibrated through the ground, rattling their bones. The air grew thick, cloying, impossible to breathe. Angela whipped her head back toward the mirror. The corpse was gone. Only her reflection stared back, pale and shaking, matching her movements again. Angela gasped, clutching Riley tighter. It was right there. Riley glanced at the mirror, then back at Angela. "We're leaving." Now she half-dragged Angela down the trail, but Angela couldn't shake the feeling of eyes boring into her back. With every step, she swore she heard 2 sets of footsteps instead of 1. They didn't speak in the car. Angela stared out the passenger window, her hands twisting in her lap. The silence pressed down on her like a weight. Riley finally broke it. "I think you need sleep. And maybe—" She hesitated. "Maybe a doctor." "Angie, you're seeing things, hearing things." Angela turned sharply. "You think I made this up?